Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the backstory. If you're new here, kindly hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down below so that you can be notified whenever we post a new video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's a very interesting story that was done by NTV, and it made me thinking that, was President William Ruto against the dynasty, or he just wanted to join the dynasty club? Was President William Ruto, during his campaigns towards 2022 general election, President William Ruto, in a very clever scheme, came up with the word dynasty, hustlers versus the dynasty. And that was the rallying call that made people, the masses, love him. And he was seen as this political messiah who was coming to rescue Kenyans out of the stranglehold of the dynasties, the political dynasties. But the question that now arises is, was President William Ruto against the dynasty? So let's watch this video, then I'll come back and analyze.
KANU leader Gideon Moi's visit to State House on Thursday was his first since President William Ruto took office in September 2022.
God, we pray for your leader.
The unexpected visit marked the end of a long-running sibling rivalry between Gideon, the biological son of the late President Daniel Arap Moi, and William Ruto, widely viewed as Moi's political son. Following the meeting, Moi, who had been expected to contest the Baringo senatorial seat against a UDA candidate, not only dropped his bid, but also declared support for the ruling party's candidate.
My good brother.
And a day later, he invited President Ruto to address KANU delegates at his Kabarak home.
So, as my brother Kipsiele here, akitukaribisha hapa nyumbani kama kitinda mimba wa mzee Moi, mimi pia kama kitinda mimba wa Moi wa siasa, mimi nawakaribisha nyumbani.
There have since been questions over what Gideon Moi stands to gain from the newfound political camaraderie. NTV has established that, alongside business interests, a political deal is also taking shape. The arrangement reportedly includes a cabinet reshuffle, which, if confirmed, could give the government a structure resembling the 2008 Grand Coalition between Raila Odinga and the late President Mwai Kibaki. Under the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, currently held by Musalia Mudavadi, two new Deputy Prime CS offices could be established, one of which will go to Gideon Moi. The second deputy slot is said to be reserved for a Cabinet Secretary from the Coast region, following negotiations allegedly steered by President Ruto himself.
He's made a lot of attempts to try and reach out to Gideon. Gideon has been very stubborn, and he's tried to use the likes of Bishop Yego and other people who are mutually respected between the two. But it was not working. It's until Raila set up a meeting between them in Abu Dhabi that he managed to bring William and Gideon together before they met in State House.
Moi is also expected to get 5 principal secretary slots and 2 ambassadorial positions, appointments likely to go to his allies in a bid to ease tensions within KANU, where many members remain opposed to the party joining government.
William Ruto knows that with the kind of money that Gideon Moi controls, and with now the goodwill he was enjoying in Baringo, it was going to be very difficult for him to win that election. So he had to do whatever it takes, and he had to make whatever concessions that needed to be made.
With the Moi deal, President Ruto has now mended fences with 3 of his most formidable political and financial rivals from the 2022 presidential race, including Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, and now Gideon Moi. Ruto first struck a working relationship with ODM leader Raila Odinga in mid-2024, then reached out to retired President Uhuru Kenyatta before sealing the latest deal with Moi, a move that has drawn sharp criticism from some quarters.
Sasa wale alitudanganya ndio shida ya Kenya. Kila siku ako na familia ya Kenyatta. Sasa ako na familia ya Jaramogi. Leo tunaongea ako na familia ya Moi. Ni muongo si muongo?
William Ruto has never detested dynasties because he's a creation of the dynasty. He was created by President Moi. He went to class under Raila Odinga. He worked under Kibaki, who are basically what he's calling dynasties. So the only issue he had with dynasties is they had refused to accommodate him.
And with 2027 drawing closer, opinion remains divided over whether this reunion will strengthen or weaken the president's bid for re-election.
Wote tumeingia tunasema we want a unified force. I want to assure you what President Ruto is doing kwa maendeleo, kwa ujenzi, it is going to guarantee him a second term in 2027.
Mambo ya 2027 hata msishutuke hata dakika moja. By 10 a.m. I've been around for some times. William Samoei will be your president. Prepare yourself to stay with him for another 10 years.
You need goodwill first. Then money becomes a key factor. Because if it was just about money, there is no way William Ruto was going to become president in 2022. Because you can see the dynasties were all together. You had Raila there, you had Gideon there, you had Uhuru there. They had the instruments of power. They had what they are calling the deep state. They had all the money. They were controlling the treasury. So they had more money than William Ruto would have matched. But you know, William Ruto was enjoying more goodwill out there from the masses.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, from that video or that story that was done by NTV Kenya, there are three things that come into mind. One is the question that I've asked, that was President William Ruto against the dynasty? Because if it's true that there is going to be a cabinet reshuffle, yeah, which I had also alluded to in the previous videos, I had said that Gideon Moi was promised a CS position. But what NTV is now reporting is that he's now been elevated to a deputy principal cabinet secretary. That is Mudavadi's deputy. That's a higher position in the political ranking, and it tells you so much about the whole arrangement. But if this comes to pass, that is, if Gideon Moi gets that position, you'd want to ask yourself, why Gideon Moi? Why not any other politician? Why did President William Ruto reach out to Gideon Moi? It points to the fact that President William Ruto only wanted to join the dynasty table. And after joining, he had to bring all these people together and tell them, hey guys, you have to accept that I'm also part of you guys, and we have to come up with a working formula that is not going to endanger our business empires, but is going to protect what we have acquired. Why am I saying so? Look at the political developments since President William Ruto came into power. When President William Ruto came into power, he tried working up the emotions of the common man by trying to show that he is the pro-people's president. And this did not work because there was a lot of expectation from the common man. And he realized that he was not going to meet all the expectations, and he was not going to realize all the promises that he made to Kenyans. So after the Gen Z's protest, President William Ruto realized that he was going to lose power. And if he lost power, he was going to be a nobody. He was going back to being the hustler that he was. So what did he do? He reached out to the dynasties. So who are these? First, he reached out to Raila Odinga and accommodated Raila Odinga's interests. After he accommodated Raila Odinga's interest, there was calm in the country, and he said, oh, so these are the people who are wielding real power. These are the people who I need to associate with. Then after President William Ruto also gained what we call material wealth, he felt that he needed to play in the league of the big boys, the likes of Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, Gideon Moi. So after getting Raila, he moved a step further to get closer to former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Even though people are saying that former President Uhuru Kenyatta is not working with President William Ruto, but I think from my analysis, he is in a way working with President William Ruto. Why am I saying so? After meeting Raila Odinga, Raila arranged for President William Ruto to meet former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And you can remember very well that President Ruto traveled all the way to Ichaweri to meet the former President Uhuru Kenyatta. After the meeting, what happened? Three confidants or three friends of the former president were absorbed into President William Ruto's cabinet. After accommodating the three cabinet secretaries who are aligned to the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, President William Ruto has moved a notch higher to bring in the son of the former President Moi into his cabinet. And why is President William Ruto doing this? Because he knows that these dynasties have the means, they have the political network, they have the economic power to destabilize his government. Take, for example, Gideon Moi. Gideon Moi has the economic power to bankroll the campaigns of any opposition leader. And Gideon Moi was being seen as being very close to Kalonzo Musyoka, who is yearning for the presidency in 2027. And Kalonzo Musyoka, as it stands, looks like the candidate, the united opposition candidate against President William Ruto. So by bringing in Gideon Moi into his cabinet or in his political cycle, it means in a way he's kind of trying to sabotage his competitors by, one, not allowing them to get the economic support in terms of money that can be used to bankroll campaigns as we head into 2027 general election. So by having the three families, and these three families have economic network, they have political networks that can be used to destabilize his government. But the question that still lingers is, was President William Ruto against the dynasties, or did he just want to join the club? My hunch tells me that President William Ruto never hated the dynasty, but he used what is called in politics, or what Machiavelli said, that in politics, the end justifies the means. And I've talked about it. President William Ruto looked at the end, which was getting to the presidency. And the means was by appealing to the emotions of Kenyans. It didn't have to be moral. It didn't have to be morally right by saying, oh, but he looked at something that was going to appeal to the masses. And the masses did bite that bait, which was the hustlers versus the dynasties. So after the masses did bite that bait, that elevated President William Ruto to the presidency. And after getting the presidency, now he saw this as an opportunity to now join the club of the big boys. So ideally, President William Ruto did not hate the dynasties, but he wanted to join that club. And that is where he now belongs. If you listen to the video, that is why when he was in Kabarak, President William Ruto categorically said that the former president, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, is the father of all these politicians. And Moi at some point told Kenyans that KANU was going to rule for ever and ever, for over 100 years. And this is coming to pass. So President William Ruto has now joined the dynasties. So I don't know if the same can work against him in 2027 or in 2032 if he manages to get his second term. Will somebody else use that narrative to send him home in 2027? Or will that weaken his hold on to power when he gets his second term?